We live in a world where people often fail to appreciate what they have until it's gone. It's a pattern that repeats itself over and over again. We see it in relationships, friendships, workplaces, and even within families. When something or someone is always available, always giving, always there, people start to take it for granted. Think about it. How often do you truly stop and appreciate the things in your life that seem constant? The sun rises every morning so you don't wake up in awe of it. Your heart beats every second so you don't stop to appreciate every single one. You don't notice the oxygen you breathe, the comfort of a safe home, or the presence of people who care until something threatens to take them away. That's human nature. We overlook what seems permanent and we chase after what feels uncertain or fleeting. And here's where it gets personal, because this isn't just about things, this is about you. Have you ever been in a situation where you gave your best, your love, your loyalty, your effort, only to be treated like an option? You showed up for someone time and time again, but they acted as if your presence was guaranteed. They assumed you would always be there, always understanding, always forgiving, always waiting. They saw your kindness as a weakness. They mistook your patience for an endless supply of second chances. But here's the truth. You are not an unlimited resource. You are not a doormat, not a backup plan, not a convenience. You are a human being with value, with worth, with emotions that deserve to be acknowledged and respected. And if you continue to allow people to treat you as if you are replaceable, they will never learn to appreciate you until you are no longer within reach. This is why self-worth is not something you wait for others to recognize. It is something you recognize first. Because the moment you start valuing yourself, the entire game changes. You stop begging for attention from those who ignore you. You stop waiting for validation from people who never saw you clearly to begin with. You stop giving discounts on your worth to people who could never afford your energy in the first place. But here's the catch. People only realize what they had after it's gone. They will remember the way you supported them when no one else did. They will feel the absence of your patience, your kindness, your energy. The silence you leave behind will echo louder than any words ever could. And that's when regret sets in. But regret is not your burden to carry. When you truly value yourself, you no longer need someone else's delayed realization to justify your worth. You don't need their apology, their tears, or their sudden change of heart, because you already moved on. You already made the choice to walk in the direction of self-respect, of growth, of becoming someone who no longer tolerates being overlooked. The painful truth is that some people only learn the value of something after they lose it. But the empowering truth, you don't have to be one of those people. But you don't have to wait until someone mistreats you for the 100th time before deciding you deserve better. You don't have to reach a breaking point before realizing that your worth does not depend on someone else's ability to see it. You don't have to experience loss in order to understand that you are already enough. Because when you start valuing yourself before it's too late, you take control of your own narrative. You decide who has the privilege of being in your life. You set the standard for how you are treated. And most importantly, you walk away before someone's regret ever becomes your concern. Walking away is one of the hardest things a person can do. It requires strength, clarity, and most of all, self-respect. Because let's be honest, staying is easy. Holding on, even when it hurts, feels more comfortable than letting go. We tell ourselves that if we just try a little harder, if we just wait a little longer, things might change. The people who took us for granted might finally see our worth. The ones who ignored us might finally start paying attention. The ones who hurt us might finally understand what they did. But here's the reality. If someone hasn't valued you while you were right there, giving them your time, your love, your loyalty, why would they suddenly wake up and change? If they ignored your presence when they had full access to you, why would their perspective shift when you're still standing in the same place, still waiting, still hoping? Walking away isn't just about leaving a situation, it's about reclaiming your power. When you allow yourself to stay where you are not valued, you slowly lose pieces of yourself. Your confidence erodes. Your energy drains. Your self-worth diminishes. You start questioning whether you're asking for too much when in reality, you've been settling for too little. You start making excuses for the way people treat you, convincing yourself that maybe you just need to be more patient, more understanding, more forgiving. But let's break that illusion right now. Your patience is not the problem. Your kindness is not the problem. The problem is that you're giving these things to people who are not capable or willing to reciprocate them. And as long as you stay, you are reinforcing their belief that they can keep treating you the same way without consequence. Walking away with power means understanding that your presence is a gift, not an obligation. It means recognizing that you are not responsible for teaching someone how to appreciate you. You are not required to keep proving your worth to someone who refuses to see it. You are not obligated to keep setting yourself on fire just to keep someone else warm. And here's what happens the moment you choose to leave. Everything shifts. The same people who were too busy to respond to your messages suddenly wonder why they haven't heard from you. The ones who couldn't make time for you suddenly want to know where you've been. The ones who overlooked you start realizing what they lost. Because here's the truth. People don't notice what's constant, they notice what's missing. But walking away is not about making someone miss you. It's not about revenge or playing games or trying to teach someone a lesson. It's about recognizing that your time, your energy, and your love are too valuable to be wasted on someone who only realizes their importance once they're gone. Because the real power doesn't come from making them regret losing you. It comes from knowing you deserved better all along. Silence has a power that words will never have. It cuts deeper than any argument. It lingers longer than any explanation, and it speaks a language that even those who once ignored you cannot ignore. When someone has spent so much time overlooking you, dismissing your feelings, and assuming that you will always be there, your silence becomes the loudest wake-up call they will ever receive. Think about the times you've tried to make someone understand how much they were hurting you. You spoke, you explained, you reasoned, you repeated yourself over and over again, hoping that somehow they would finally hear you, finally change, finally value you the way you deserved. But they didn't. And the more you tried to be heard, the less they seemed to listen. Why? Because words lose their power when they're taken for granted. When you constantly express your pain, your disappointment, or your frustration, people start to tune it out. They assume you'll always be there, always talking, always explaining. They get comfortable in the idea that no matter how they treat you, you'll keep showing up, keep giving them more chances, keep trying to get through to them. They mistake your words for background noise, something they can ignore without consequence. But silence? Silence is different. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop chasing after their understanding, when you stop fighting to be seen and simply remove yourself, that's when they finally notice. Because silence forces them to sit with the absence of what they once took for granted. It forces them to confront the void you leave behind. It forces them to replay every conversation they once brushed off, every moment they dismissed, every time they should have listened but didn't. And suddenly, everything they ignored becomes all they can think about. That's when regret begins to set in. They start wondering why you're not reaching out anymore. They start questioning why the person who used to care so much suddenly doesn't seem to care at all. They start to feel the emptiness of your silence. And for the first time, they begin to realize just how much they've lost. But here's the thing. By the time they understand, it's already too late. Because silence is not just about absence. It's about transformation. It's about shifting your energy away from people who drain you and redirecting it toward yourself. It's about no longer wasting your breath on those who refuse to hear you when you were speaking. It's about recognizing that your voice is valuable, and if someone couldn't appreciate it when they had the chance, they don't deserve it now. And that is why silence is the most powerful response you will ever give. Closure people chase it, beg for it, and wait for it. They want that final conversation, that explanation, that acknowledgement of the pain they endured. They want the person who hurt them to see their mistake, to admit they were wrong, to apologize. They think that if they can just get that one moment of recognition, the pain will ease and they will finally be able to move on. But the truth is, closure is not something you get from another person. It's something you create for yourself. Too often, people waste months, sometimes years, waiting for closure that may never come. They sit in their pain, replaying old conversations, wondering why things ended the way they did, hoping that one day the person who wronged them will reach out and say, "I was wrong. I see your worth now. I regret losing you." But here's what they fail to realize. Even if that moment comes, it won't change anything. An apology doesn't undo the disrespect. A realization doesn't erase the neglect. And their regret doesn't heal the wounds they created when they had the chance to treat you better but chose not to. That's why real closure isn't found in words. It's found in your growth, your success, your transformation. Think about it. What is more powerful? Sitting across from someone who once broke you, listening to them explain why they did what they did, or walking away so completely that their opinion no longer holds any weight in your life? What feels more fulfilling? Wasting your time trying to prove to them that they should have chosen you, or building a life so incredible that their absence doesn't even matter anymore? Because here's the thing, the best revenge isn't revenge. It's elevation. It's waking up one day and realizing that you no longer care whether they see your worth. It's reaching a point where their validation is irrelevant because you've built so much confidence, so much happiness, so much success on your own that their regret becomes meaningless. It's understanding that the life you create moving forward is far more important than the explanation you never got. And the irony? That's when they finally start to see it. Because people don't regret losing you when you're still looking back, still hoping, still waiting. They regret it when they see you thriving in ways they never expected. They regret it when they realize that the version of you they took for granted no longer exists. That you've evolved into someone stronger, wiser, untouchable. They will cry for you in silence, but you won't even hear it. Because by then you'll be too busy living the life you always deserved.